Spitfires. Then they got the Lancaster, and slightly ironically changed the name to the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. So here they are, the Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. As you look at the stately roll rate of the Lancaster bomber, it's interesting to note that the great test pilot Alex Henshaw, who didn't only test Spitfires but also tested Lancaster bombers, could actually roll one of these all the way upside down. It was a barrel roll rather than a slow roll, which meant that it kept positive G on, and he would put a flying glove on the cockpit coaming, and he made sure it stayed there throughout the whole of the roll. So here they are, the Lancaster, the Spitfire and the Hurricane. Be very proud. Now you might have noticed there that the Spitfire has broken away from the formation, but we're going to see a two-ship formation with the Lancaster in front and the Hurricane in line astern, coming in from the right. And meanwhile the Spitfire will be positioning to start his display from straight ahead over on the far side of the airfield. Off to our right over the treetops there. Wonderful sight of 5 Merlin engines in close formation. I caught a glint off the Spitfire's paintwork on the far side of the airfield, just off the wingtips there. And here come the other two. She is the Spitfire Mark 19 in the hands of Parky Parkinson. Colour scheme of the Royal Air Force photographic reconnaissance aircraft. This aircraft is painted in the colours of 81 Squadron at Royal Air Force Seletar in Malaysia. In Malaya it was then. And the aircraft this represents was the Spitfire that did the last RAF operational Spitfire flight on the 1st of April 1954. As you may have seen when this aircraft came into land, it has the last painted on the nose. But that last mission was a photographic sortie over the jungle in Johor looking for communist guerrilla hideouts. And the man flying this, Anthony Parkinson, I think, has something of a charmed life. He did his flying training as a Royal Air Force officer in Texas. And he then flew the F-4 Phantom at Lucas and Wildenrath, and then the F-3 Tornado at Leeming, and then the F-16 on exchange with the Royal Netherlands Air Force at Leeuwarden. Flying with the Cloggies, he became an instructor on the Tornado F-3, the Interceptor Tornado Operational Conversion Unit, and was their display pilot. And then he did 4 years on the Red Arrows, and then went onto the Typhoon Operational Conversion Unit at Coningsby. And he's now the full-time adjutant and operations officer of the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. He's one of only 2 full-time flyers on the flight. The other is the boss. So I think that is a pretty charmed life, if you like aviation. Fast jet aviation. Stylish aviation, at that. I think that rolling departure from the Spitfire means that the Hurricane will shortly be with us. But maybe Parky's going to do one more fly through. It's lovely how the sun keeps glinting off those wings. Yes, Spitfire from the left, Hurricane from the right. How dramatic is that? Beautifully done, guys. Hurricane, when you compare it to the graceful shape, particularly of the Mark 19 Spitfire, looking ever so slightly humpy, and yet an absolutely wonderful aeroplane. This is a Hurricane 2C LF363, one of the original airplanes on the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. As it comes towards us, you see those fairly planky, thick wings, not with the same shape as the Spitfire wings, but nonetheless immensely successful. It made its reputation in the Battle of Britain. Significantly less of a performer than its main fighter opponent, the Messerschmitt 109. It did turn out to be a very good bomber destroyer, often leaving the dogfighting with the 109s to the faster and more agile Spitfires. But it was responsible for 3/5 of the German aircraft casualties during the Battle of Britain. But the great serendipity about the Royal Air Force's 2 great fighters during the Battle of Britain was that they complemented each other perfectly. And that meant that although the Spitfires usually went for the fighters and the Hurricanes the bombers, at any time either could do either. 12,780 of these were built in Britain and another 1,451 in Canada. Hurricane designed by the great Sidney Cam. Originally it had a fixed undercarriage and a Goshawk engine, but they soon sorted that out. Incorporated an undercarriage that could retract, and most importantly the Rolls-Royce Merlin. He also increased the number of guns from 4 to what was then an unheard of 8. Flew first of all in 1935 from Brooklands. The Air Ministry immediately ordered it. This was the first aeroplane in the world to bring 8 guns to bear on a target. It was also the first combat aeroplane to exceed 300 miles an hour in level flight. the classic victory roll of the Hurricane returning from the sortie. And in comes the Lancaster from the right.
What it's all about, one of these flying.
Note those KCA markings, and if you can see it, the nose art on the front of the aircraft. So that's KCA of 617 Squadron, the famous Dam Buster Squadron, this of course being the 70th anniversary of the Dam Buster raids. And that nose out on the port side of the nose, which you won't see as she goes by this time, because on this side of the aircraft it has the City of Lincoln crest. But the nose out is called, it's Thumper Mark III. See the huge bomb bay that is open there. And you saw the bomb doors on either side of that. Well, in that famous Dam Busters raid, they had to take those bomb doors off so that they could fit the Barnes-Wallis bouncing bomb. Now we can actually hear from the man most closely associated with the raid, Guy Gibson. There are very few recordings of him, even fewer where what was a very modest man spoke about the Dams raid itself. Here's what he said on a Canadian radio broadcast in 1944.
The time when you really face death, and normally you don't know when you're going to die, you see. You always think that it will not happen to me, but that raid on the dams was the one time when we knew that we were going to die or not die, as the case may be. You know, the hair that was hanging on our life was very thin. And then there's just a feeling of, funny empty feeling in the stomach, but you're not frightened.
The amazing Guy Gibson, VC, talking in a very rare interview about the Dams raid. Wheels down on the Lancaster. The first operational Lancaster squadron was number 44 at Waddington. First operational bombing sortie was in March 1942 against Essen. The extraordinary thing is Lancasters made 156,000 operational sorties. They carried a heavier load of bigger bombs than any other bomber in the world, in the European theatre. 7,377 were built, and 3,349 of those were lost on operations. Think about that. That's 45% of these extraordinary bombers lost on operations. Crew of 7. Pilot, flight engineer, navigator, observer, nose gunner, bomb aimer, wireless operator, mid-upper gunner, and tail gunner. Here she is with the wheels down, with the fighters catching her up. As a whole, 126,000 aircrew flew into battle with the average age of 22, and of those, more than 58,000 died, 46% of them. So you had a nearly 1 in 2 chance whether you survived when you were flying in Bomber Command. Their total fatalities amounted to 1 in 7 of the total service casualties. But at least now we have a Bomber Command memorial in London, and how wonderful it is. HM the Queen said those who died gave their tomorrow so that we could enjoy our today. But perhaps the best description of the Lancaster came from Sir George Edwards, the grand old man of British aviation, who died in 2003. He said, "An aircraft designed by engineers and built by craftsmen and women for heroes to fly."